Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to go over my Season 16 World Arena teams that got me rank 1. It was pretty easy this time around. I did make counter teams to the enemy teams that were running and they were very reliable at that. So the first team was the Avengers with Monarchs. This team isn't really good. This purpose of this team was to lose. So I was anticipating that they would copy my teams, and I did play around having a different team on my attack that would beat this team. So I kind of played like two teams that were the same but positioned differently, so if they copy me I can guarantee a win on the first two teams. So yeah, overall this team was pretty weak and it was beatable, so this team was just something to throw at enemies, having a slight chance to win because of Aphrodite's Phantom Illusion, but nothing really reliable. And its counter I have used was this team right here, so I did have far more Phantom Illusion here and also Phantom Illusion counter. So if enemy copied my defense, they would have this team at their team 1 and I would have this team at my team 1. So this team would be my first team, so this was a reliable way to guarantee myself a first win of the battle. So yeah, this team, nothing really strong, nothing really particularly broken, but it's still a team that could get a win if it was lucky to Aphrodite's Phantom Illusion. The main carry in this team was Hecate and Aphrodite as well as Isis. Fenrir is here for the scaling, but you really could even use Althea, Janna, or even Diochan, which I have used as well in some times. So yeah, overall pretty solid team, but its main purpose was to lose to my 9th team, which was actually my first team when it comes to attacking. So to talk about its counter, this team is the 9th team, or aka my first team when attacking. This team is basically all around Phantom Illusioning enemies and taking them down with splash damage and also Phantom Illusion immunity from the Sourceborn Marina. So the way this team works is we have Behemoth to increase our speed and have us stun on the team because it lacks a CC. Behemoth is here to stun, and if she dies we have the Python's Mirror to revive her, and then she would stun again, so it's a cycle that never breaks. We have Wuzetian and Sheng. You might wonder why these two together. Well, the way Wuzetian works is she's faster than Sheng, so she would steal enemy hero. The hero stolen will be guaranteed to die because of the protection from her runes. So if you don't know, Wuzetian runes makes the stolen hero have 100% chance to share the damage, or rather take all of the damage and save your allies from the damage. So she steals, the hero dies, then Sheng follow-ups, she steals, and this hero won't have the same effect because that's strictly Wuzetian. But now the enemy is down 2 heroes, so they have only 3 heroes left. Then Hades comes, eats 1, and that's 2 heroes left. The rest is done by either the Hades damage, Behemoth stun, and Sourceborn Marina splash and her massive damages. So the relics are just pretty much leftover relics, but I do have the immunity to CC and damage in the first round from the Cauldron, and the sustain, or rather the Python's Mirror Resurrection in case something goes wrong. We also have CC immunity from the Glorians, so 4 Celestials, unfortunately not 2 Deviants, but this team just works to counter my first team. So yeah, that's the logic of this team. It's pretty good, it's nothing game breaking, but a solid team nonetheless. The second team is the Mystifiers with the tree. So this version of Mystifiers doesn't run Lucifer because it doesn't need it. We have Nether Flame and we also have the Gleipnir, but the Nether Flame doesn't really work with the tree, I believe, so it's kind of a waste, but it's the only Mystifier's relic that is 9 stars that can actually instantly trigger the Gleipnir, so my heroes can just spam their ultimates in the first round, because we don't have Lucifer, which does also the same, and it would be kind of wasteful to use Telescope in a team where there's 3 Celestials instead of Deviants. So yeah, the reason why 3 is at the 3rd slot is because this team has no way to deal with CC, so we're pulling out the 3 to do that. The tree can purify up to 10 debuffs, I believe. So yeah, dispelling 10 debuffs, so overall pretty strong team, and it was one of the most winning teams in the game. You simply just cannot beat Mystifiers with 3 unless you get super lucky. The way that I did deal sometimes with this team is with my Dooms teams, although it was not really that reliable, but sometimes it was winning these battles, even though I'm not sure why or how, but this team right here, probably because of the Arthur reflecting back road, it could have been winning, especially because Suzanos reflect in the 9 Dooms. So sometimes this team did beat it, so I used the Dooms on my attack team on number 2 to match with this team right here. But yeah, overall, this team, one of the strongest teams I can think of, so yeah. The next team is going to be the third team, which is the Avenger Phantoms with Cleopatra. I did not use either Victoria or Hela in this team. I did use Cleopatra. She still does the job, and this team was pretty good. The reason why I'm not running any reset Chrono Relic is because they don't need it. When it comes to the Avengers, you can just simply cast Magatama and be done with their relic cycle. They don't really need any kind of other relics that benefit them. So I'm using the Zephyr Spear because it instantly triggers my Magatama and because it also increases the attack, so more Magatama damage, and it also gives shields, which is pretty bad when it goes against Venus, but it's still whatever because it's just a relic that does have one single purpose, and it's top proc Magatama as fast as possible. And then we have the mask, which also grants us damage from its conversion and also gives us more sustain to live longer. So overall, this team did beat some of the other Avenger Phantoms with Hela and Victoria. So strong team, really underrated in my opinion. And Cleopatra is still pretty good unit. I will probably X her at some point to get 8 Avengers in here unless I change her usability in the future. The fourth team is going to be the Ethereals with 3 Monarchs. I do use Hela in here. I have tried this team without the Hela, so I did use Karnak or Wukong in here, or even Lilith and Elovin, but it simply did not do the job. I believe that Ethereals do need Fate Hero along Venus, otherwise they're pretty bad. The relics I'm using is Sarcophagus into Scepter, into the Scales because they have 3-round cooldown, so I can repeat this cycle. The Divine Scepter no longer cleanses Lucifer. Its main purpose was to cleanse the Lucifer debuff still, so I could match and beat them, but since it no longer does that, I will have to redo this team when it comes to relics. But other than that, I think I would keep this team as it is. I don't think it needs any more adjustment. It's a pretty solid team, not unbeatable, but not even weak either. The fifth team is going to be the Loki with Victoria and Izanami. The reason why I'm using Loki and Izanami in here is because Victoria does AoE hits, she's fast and she will freeze all of the enemies. Same goes for the Loki and they have pretty good CC combo. Audrey is here to be the third Monarch as well as Yorm. Yorm buffs our team's damage by insane and Audrey steals their holy shields. Overall, this team is really good. Izanami provides us with sustain and CC, so overall, pretty solid team and did really well, especially for something that only really has Victoria and Loki in it. The other 3 heroes are mostly hard to feed in other teams, so I decided to make this. My Victoria is set on the Ethereals for more crit rates, so more freeze will trigger. And for the relics, I'm using the banner for even more holy shields than the Loki's crown for the stun, CC, and heals. And then Hand of Tyr because it's a 3-round relic combo with a Glorian, so I'm also using the 3 Glorian relics for the buff steals. So yeah, overall I can cycle these relics far more and it's a pretty solid team and I'm pretty proud of it. The sixth team is going to be the Mystifers, but with Lucifer we have 4 Deviants with the Telescope, so Telescope gets massive value. We have the Vanquisher for the CC removal and then we have the Crown for the seal if we do need it, but most of the times this team didn't really need it. If you don't want to use Dullahan, you can use Talos. If he has legendary runes, he's probably better, but other than that, I feel like Dullahan is better because of the telescope value. We have Lucifer, which makes all allies cast ultimates instantly, so we have no need for the Gleipnir. And overall, yeah, you can even use Franz in this team. Franz with his runes is pretty strong. So yeah, overall you can use Franz instead of Dullahan as well. In my opinion, he should do good because Gaia is in the team to reduce enemy speed, but you will lose out on the 3 Monarchs. So yeah, Catherine is here because you're outspeeding enemies. She can apply Vital Drain before they get their heals. So overall, this team does look good and does work wonders. So just purely because of Lucifer mostly. But yeah, that's why we have 2 strong Mystifer teams. One is with Lucifer and the other is with the 3. The 7th team is the Pandora with the Valiantors. This team wasn't all that strong, but they do have perfect relic cycle in here to counter enemy tree. So it was sometimes winning the tree that enemies were having run because of this cycle on the relics and because they don't have any kind of speed boost and they have bind. So yeah, overall this team is strong, but it kind of loses more often than it wins. Not sure how to actually improve it, maybe if some of these heroes were actually monarchs instead, but overall I don't really see any other Valiantor that I could use instead of Victoria, for example. Maybe you could use Ra for the Death Knight combo, but I'm not really a fan of that either. So overall, strong team, but I did have to use Planner Gate 7 stars and some really strong relics for it to make it work. And then lastly, we have the Dooms that I have talked about. So these Dooms are probably my favorite ones. I'm not using Behemoth, I'm not using a Fate Hero. Instead of all of that, I have X'd my Arthur and he's been proving to be really strong in this team. So overall, I'm really satisfied. These Dooms rarely lose and the relics are pretty much perfect for them. I think these are the best in slot relics for the Dooms. And yeah, overall, this team could beat even the Mystifers with the 3. So yeah, those were the teams, and I'm going to try and showcase the battles now. So here are these Dooms beating a Lucifer team. This team was made by Taiku Sakebomb. You might know him from the Road Chat or the World Arena 3, but mainly my players in the World Arena copied their player, and then one of my main top players in the World Arena 1 copied his teams, and then most players copied his teams as well. So I was lucky to basically have beating teams to his teams. And here's an example of this team, even with the gate losing to the Dooms, a pretty solid team nonetheless. Arthur putting up a lot of work in here. And in here you can see I have used Diochan even instead of the Fenrir, and this team actually won the Mystifers that he made, although these Mystifers are not that good in my opinion, but neither is this two-man team pretty much, but it still won because Aphrodite is such a fun hero. And in here you can see the Valiantors losing to the Glorians with Izanami, so pretty strong team, but it's in about equal tier into the Valiantors. He does run Cleopatra and Hades instead of Pandora for some reason, and I'm not a fan of that, but yeah, people do some things. But yeah, overall, this team is pretty solid. And even in here, you can see this team with Izanami Loki beating up Pandora Loki team. So this team is like 6 Glorians and 1 Pandora. So I'm overall not happy with it, but I think my team is slightly better, although it does use Victoria for it. And in here, it's a matchup of Valiantors, although I do have Planner Gate, he doesn't, but I do believe that these type of Valiantors are better than the Taiku's ones. And in here you can see that this player copied my team, so these are the teams I have shown recently, and he did lose to my Dooms. These Dooms actually beat 3 Mystifers, so yeah, anything is possible really. So these are the teams he ran, and he copied me and actually lost to me, so overall pretty solid performance in the World Arena. I really liked it. I got first in a while. It's been a pleasure doing it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be tryharding this season, because this season started off rough when it comes to PvP, especially with the Hope Tree and especially with the changes to Lucifer. So we will see how it goes, but yeah. Overall, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you have learned something new, some synergies, or have inspired you for the future. But yeah, thank you for watching and see you guys in the next one.